All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the All Things Performance Podcast. This is Josiah and today I am joined with a good friend, family friend, somebody that I've known since I was literally a child and vice versa. Victor Makinde, man, how are you doing today, my brother?
Doing good. Pleasure to be on here. I'm trying to just be like you one day with my words.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
inspire people.
Oh man. So for the people out there, in terms of a healthy introduction, I'm gonna let you brag on yourself a little bit. I know that you started and you co-founded an investment firm, and you're doing great things and even more things today. But just tell us a little bit about your background. I know that you were a football player at SMU, Southern Methodist University, home of Eric Dickerson. You know what I'm saying? And
Pony up.
Yeah, man, pony up and some other greats. Just tell us a little bit about your investment background and also your sports background, and we're gonna get it right into it today because I think there's a beautiful relationship between you, sports, and business that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. No, sounds good, man. So I guess before I can even get into the sports, talk about going way back. So I'm talking to the guy who showed me a few exercises that I still use to stay fast today.
Let's go.
And I remember when I don't even know how we started training together back in the day, actually. I don't even really know what it was.
I know you were getting ready to go and play in college. I know Ebenezer was, coming up through the ranks. Your brother. I mean, you guys come from a family of athletes, man. So
you're right. But either way, I went to, I guess, around ASU summer. I think it was the U Zone.
The U Zone, yeah.
Yeah, the U Zone.
Shout out. Shout out Uzor.
And then he said, "Hey, I'm going to show you some stuff, but you can't tell anybody." I was like, "Man, I got to learn the secret stuff this guy's talking about," And but no, it stuck with me though, man. Just wanting to help somebody that you saw needed help, and I think that's the one thing about the community that we grew up in. I think that there's a lot of that healthy sort of reaching down to help the next guy, find his path. So that part's pretty exciting that I've been able to sort of kind of do the same thing, been blessed to be able to be in a position to actually be able to do that. And I guess the most recent sort of journey that I've been on now that I have my son, who is obviously, young but inspiring, trying to be, go down the athlete, path.
Yeah.
And living in a small town, man. I live in Iowa right now in a small town called Cedar Falls. And some of the sports are big, like in the Midwest, obviously. In Iowa, when you first think of Iowa, you think of what? Wrestling, corn-fed,
I think of cornfield in the color yellow, bro. Like, I can't even lie to you, man. When I think of Iowa, I just think of cornfields, the Buckeyes, and like the color yellow. That's what comes to my mind.
Well, the Buckeyes are not in Iowa, dude.
Or Hawkeyes. Hey, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, man. Hey, Hawkeyes, right?
Hawkeyes, yeah.
Yeah, yellow.
You got the Hawkeyes, you got the Cyclones, you got the Panthers.
Yep.
Those are 3 Division I schools. So we're actually 5 minutes really from the Panthers stadium. So I should be repping UNI. I got the UNI bracelet on, but UNI is if I'm talking about my son's aspirations, they're gonna have to do a lot for him to stay and go there.
Man.
But you never know. You know what I'm saying? It's the home, town team. But it's been fun, man. I was approached this season to sort of take over the sprinters, the head sprinting position at the one track club we actually have in town. That's the one thing about small towns. You might just have one team, and so if that team's no good, then what do you do? So you either kind of throw your kid into a situation where they're not probably going to improve, and knowing that obviously came from Arizona, lived in Texas, in Texas sport, that's life.
That's a different breed right there.
Yeah. So coming to a small town Iowa, having one track team, and just we've been here for 4.5 years. And my son actually has been on the team for 4.5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to watch him and watch the team's progression and kind of track, some of these kids 4 years ago to see kind of where they are now. And I think that's a huge thing when you're talking about just development, is having that starting point and then kind of seeing, okay, the stuff that these guys are doing, how is it helping or hurting these aspiring athletes? And kind of what some of the things that I saw were definitely what encouraged me to sort of kind of step in and want to take more of an active role sort of in his sports development.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the now, that's kind of where we're at now, but talking about what you were talking about as far as the intersection between sports for me and athletics, I've always viewed, sports, and I've taken sports very seriously because I viewed it as I consider it the best social program that you can have,
Mm-hmm.
And so coming from kind of my background, both parents from Nigeria, immigrants, and really trying to figure out the system,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so for them coming up, sports wasn't even an option. I mean, they didn't really want to hear really about sports. If you want to, really talk about it, it's doctor, right? It's lawyer, accountant. My mom jokes now. She's like, Victor, you're like one of these Igbo men. You buy and sell, buy, sell. I said, I like that, Mom. I'm gonna put that on my resume. Say, what do you do? Instead of entrepreneurship, I'll say I buy and sell. So that's my informal trading, man. I'm a buy and sell merchant,
Hey, so real quick, because I don't want this to be lost in the familiarity that you and I have with each other. Obviously,
sure.
We know each other since we were kids, but you took a company, right, and scaled it to $50+ million in a matter of just a couple of years, right? And then you're all fast forward, right? You fast forward to now, you're getting a chance to, which I think is awesome, to work with a track club that has your son on it,
right?
And you've taken not only him but a bunch of the other kids and helped scale them and get them better. You took some of the training that you received as a young aspiring college athlete and took it and you used that to scale and to get better. I want you to talk about the mindset of that, right? The mindset of, for me personally, right? I have this thing where I always tell my athletes, I'm obsessed and I am very intrigued with taking good, making it great, taking great and making it just a little bit better. So I want you to talk to us just from a, how your mind works, right? You gave us a little insight right now, like you buy and you sell, you get the information, you make it better, and then you go on to the next thing. Talk to us about that as a mentality for you, coming up.
Yeah. So I guess skipping through the kind of the journey to get to SMU, but what I will say is when I got to SMU, and I guess a little bit into that mindset of how I got to SMU, right? My thing when I was coming up was basketball. So like my older brother played basketball, so I kind of fell into that. I want to shoot hoops because that's what he did, and that ended up not working out for me. And one of my really good friends played football, and kind of on a whim, he's like, Vic, you're not even playing basketball. Because I got kicked off the basketball team, right?
We won't talk about that on this podcast.
We won't, but we've all come from different places. But my thing was like, okay, I'll try football, whatever. This guy's kind of challenged my ego, and so I'm like, I could, if I put my mind to it, I could do it. So did football, realized I'm okay, but I'm not that good, and I wanted to really improve. So I basically made a list of all the different things that I wanted to improve on. And I derived that list from the people that have made it to Division I level in football. So one of the things on the list was obviously the 40 time. I needed to get my 40 time underneath 4.4, right? And then it was, I'm probably not going to get a scholarship just playing 1 year of football straight to Division I. So I need to go to like an intermediary program, like a junior college, to go and it has to be the best junior college that I can go to.
Yeah.
right? A place where, they're consistently getting guys to the next level. So that was on my list. I got to go to a JUCO that every year they're putting guys to the next level. And so for me, it was like, let's work towards getting the 40 time down. Let's get to the 40-inch vertical. Let's be able to do the shuttle drill and get it into the, so I had all those goals, made those goals, posted them on my bathroom window. And that mentality, even for my son, if I were to go show you his bedroom for his track goals, whatever sport he's in, we erase the board, we put the different goals on there. So for right now, for him and his 100-meter time, we've got a goal. He wants to run under 14 seconds, right?
And real quick,
yeah.
just to brag on your son real quick. Tell everybody how old your son is right now.
My son's 8.
And where is he ranked nationally right now?
Whew. In the 100, he's top 25. 200, he's top 30. 400, top 25. But in the state and in the region that we're in, right, you're only as fast as you can get pushed. He's number 1.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll find out where he's. Yeah, we don't really know. We'll find out where he's at here once we go to the Junior Olympics and go against the top guys.
No doubt. Guys. So that's awesome. So for those of you who don't know, Victor's son Giancarlo. First of all, you can't have a name Giancarlo and be half stepping. You know what I'm saying? I love the name. when your name is Giancarlo, man, stuff just happens. You have to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So
you want to know why? So I wanted to name him with a name that started with G, right?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to shorten it so that everybody would call him G. And so nobody calls him by his name. You'll say, "Hey, what is your name?" He said, "My name is G. Call me G." Yeah. So he's a G, man.
I love it. So I just wanted the viewers to know, once again, we're here with Victor Makinde on the All Things Performance podcast, and this is awesome because now you've taken this and I want you to continue your story. You've taken this thread of, hey, I make goals, I write them down, head to paper, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And you're actualizing the goals. Actually, I don't want to rob your story, but you've taken that same thing and you pass it down to your son. So keep on talking to us about your mindset.
Absolutely. So I definitely believe, and not in the sort of like esoteric and manifestation, you know what I mean? But I really do believe that if you can take there's an African proverb, man, that they say, how do you eat an elephant, right? And the answer is one bite at a time. So you take these goals that people think it's impossible. How many people go Division I?
Yeah.
Okay. And especially being a minority person, you're always sort of, unless you're blessed to be around people that really want to see you do good, you're always sort of feeling like you're fighting an uphill battle almost. So every dream you have becomes sort of like that looks insurmountable. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'll take a snapshot of the dream or the goal or the vision. And then I don't necessarily think about that every day, but I think about, okay, what are the steps that I need to do to get there? And then who's done this before me? And on average, what did they have to do? And what did that look like? And then every day I just kind of work towards getting there. So for my football career, it was, I need to be under 4.4 below. I need to go to a place where they're actually actively recruiting people from the junior college, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously I have to have my grades be attractive, and then I have to get on the field. And so one of the things on the field that I had for me as a goal wasn't even like, I got to get 10 interceptions. And it was, I want to play a perfect game. So when a coach puts on the tape, I'm not sending him highlights, because everybody has highlights.
Yeah.
I want to send a full game's worth of tape where every play they see is a perfect play, a perfect read. So I was playing for perfection, right? Obviously, you're never going to get perfection, but in my case, I was able to get a game with perfect tape, and that's what I sent. I didn't send the highlight tape out to different schools.
That's very interesting. That mindset is contrarian, and I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it was. When I look back, it's almost crazy, man. So I started playing football my senior year. I played 1 year, and then went junior college, and first year in junior college I redshirted, so that lets you know I wasn't even that good when I got there. In my mind, I thought I was good, man. But then I got up there and I remember on my recruiting trip, I had the same mindset that a lot of people have, where it was, oh, it's junior college, I'll just go there and dominate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember the first guy that I saw coming out, this dude, his name was Chris McKenzie. He played
Oh
football at
yeah.
ASU actually.
ASU. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
He was
yeah.
like 5'9", you
Yeah.
know.
And can burn too, like
He
four,
ran
three,
he ran
four, two.
fast, but
Yeah.
jacked, big.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm at the time I'm 16, because I skipped a grade when I was younger, so I was a year younger than everybody else. And that's the first guy I saw. He came out of the performance center, shirt off, big, strong, and I hadn't really lifted that much weight because I'm a basketball guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at this guy, and he was with another guy. It was the D end. He was 6'6", fast, big, strong, everything. And those were the first two dudes I saw. And I panicked.
You saw the giants in the land.
I saw something I never thought. I said, man, and I love those guys. Shout out to those guys. But I was like, these dudes look like some prison dudes, man. Like, I'm scared. You know? And so even before I got in there, in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way, there's no way in however many months I got to report. Number one, I don't even know what I'm doing. What am I doing playing football? There's no way I could get that big, So I'm like, I gotta go get faster, man. Like, I started doing math in my head, speed and velocity and strength. That equals, I said, I if I get faster, then I could just kind of just like throw my weight into it, throw my body at these guys, and maybe, because I didn't know what position they played. I just saw them.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I got to tackle those guys,
yeah.
I was like, oh my God. So we got done with the recruiting visit, man. The next day I enrolled in track and field. That was how I got into track. Yeah. Self-preservation.
If you can't fight, you better be able to run.
I can run. I'll run, close my eyes, and hit. That was
oh man.
That was the story, man. So yeah, I enrolled in track. Literally the next day, I couldn't do it fast enough, and it was just like, I got to get faster. And then number two, I got to survive, because I just signed up in junior college. You can be whatever age,
Yeah.
So I felt like at the time, I was at Glendale Community College, just for reference, in Arizona. I was like, are they recruiting prisoners? Like, there's like prison push-up workout. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I was like, what is happening? But it was cool because, like you said, Chris McKenzie was running 4.3s, 4.2s. At the time, I went to an ASU football camp and I got timed at a 4.84 and a 4.85.
That ain't cutting it, man.
No, that's slow. And I remember when Glendale came on the recruiting trip or to visit me on my campus, it was me and a couple other guys on the team that were not African Americans. And so me being the one, African American guy in the room, they asked the three of us who was the fastest.
So hold on. So how many guys are in the room at this point?
This is me. We got our running back and the safety, and both those guys are.
There's just three of you, and you're the only black dude.
I'm the only black dude.
Okay.
And so the defensive coordinator at the time was Mickey Bell. So he's looking at it and said, okay, so who's the fastest of the three of you? And I had already raced these guys in the beginning of the season. This is before really doing any kind of training, and I got beat. So I knew I was the slowest out of the three. It wasn't even like I could pretend I was faster. So he says it, and I kind of just duck my head. I don't say anything. And he's like, he points, like he assumes it's me, but I don't say anything. I'm not going to confirm. And then luckily nobody denied it. Nobody denied it, but I couldn't say it because I was like, if I say it's me, these guys, they can beat me. So that was one of those moments that I was like, I got to get faster. This is crazy. Not only am I not fast, I'm slow. You know what I'm saying? I'm not strong. This is before I even really knew about the Chris McKenzies of the world and the JC Breakers and some of these other guys. And when I saw those guys, that was the nail in the coffin, man. I had to go and start working and training. Yeah. And it was literally just kind of doing research, honestly, again, on what other people have done to get faster. and then kind of experimenting with myself and really just pushing myself, man. And so for me, it was like, my philosophy was, if there was a race, I was going to go as fast and as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Every single time. And even if I wasn't going to win, I was just going to go as fast as I can go. You know what I mean? And then it transitioned to, I bought some weighted vests and weighted shorts, and I would just do all my workouts in weighted vests, weighted shorts. And just, obviously that's how it started, you know what I mean? But by the time you go to, junior college, I ran track at GCC. You start picking up some stuff from guys that kind of know what they're doing. And a lot of it became just sort of like agility and balance and technique. You know what I mean? So by the time I left Glendale, I was running 4.3s, and I was the fastest guy on the team. Wow. So took me two and a half years, to go from 4.85 to 4.31. And so you say, well, that's a fluke. It's funny because back in the day, people would say, man, Vic, you're just lucky you're just so fast, I'm like, I don't know if that I can't argue that, because I'm fast, so genetically maybe that's part of it, but I can remember when I wasn't fast.
Yeah.
And I worked pretty hard to get there, but you don't really get confirmation when it's just you. Like, I made myself faster, so genetically, right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until my career was about to be over and I started working with my younger brother, and then I'm kind of like, hey, we'll see if the stuff works for him too. And if it does, that's good for him. If it doesn't, whatever, it worked for me. And his story, he ends up out of high school, right, getting a full ride scholarship to Boise State.
Yeah.
And he's the fastest, football player that they've ever had on that campus. And he was running 4.2s. So he had track speed fast. Yeah. So the stuff has gotten better. So obviously then you take that and you say, okay, now my son runs. And when he started running, he was just like everybody else. He wasn't really the fastest kid. But now I'm starting his process. He started running track at age 5. So, and it's not an exclusive sport for him. You know what I mean? He's into martial arts. He does all these other different things. And in Iowa, you can't really run outside anyways, because it's especially 6 months out of the year, it's cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no overtraining involved, but it's really balance, coordination, and technique, and then sticking with the stuff that works, obviously, and then rinsing and repeating. So I think that theme, you can find that theme sort of like throughout my life, whether it's finance or business. Going back to the financial stuff, man, getting me to SMU was the catalyst for a lot of the financial concepts that I sort of started researching. Because at that point at SMU, you're in Texas now. For viewers who are not in Texas,
so I'm we're back in Phoenix. I wasn't.
You're back in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're back in Phoenix.
We were there for a few years. Yeah.
Yeah.
2.5 years.
Okay, good. So I thought you were still in Texas. Yeah, but I was in Texas for 17 years. Yeah. Right. So when I got to SMU, it was a huge eye opener for me, because there's just so much wealth. And SMU campus is in a place called Highland Park, which is one of the wealthiest places in the United States. But it's carved out of Greater Dallas. So they have their own municipality, their own water, their own fire, everything. And surrounding it is basically less so-called desirable areas, right? Hoods. So when I was there, I would look around and I'm just like, you're driving Land Rover, Mercedes, brand new. Just stuff that you didn't, like they tell you got to work X amount of years to get a certain amount of, money saved and this and that and the other. But I'm looking, I'm like, there's no amount of work. The numbers don't add up.
Yeah, you can't work that much and that hard to be able to be doing that whenever you want.
Exactly. And I was like, something isn't adding up. It's a little bit fishy. And the nail in the coffin for me, man, there was a chick that we just were talking, and come to find out that she basically was living on and going to SMU by herself, and both her parents were living overseas. And I'm not sure how the conversation came up, but her parents both lived in Nigeria, right? And so obviously my parents are both from there, and they came here for a chance at a better life. She's here by herself at SMU, just balling out of control.
Yeah.
And not to be a hater, but I looked at her, I'm kind of like, okay, there's nothing really that special about you, right? And she's just living large. And I'm thinking to myself, so my parents left there to come here for a better life, and it's even hard here. Your parents are over there getting right, and you're balling out over here. So
where's the rub? What am I missing here?
What am I missing? Because I left there to come here. and my parents aren't balling here.
Where's the gold at?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like a leprechaun, man. I need to figure things out. I need a bag of gold, man. I think I'm Irish. I'm one of those black Irish folks, man. And I'm like, what's really going on? So at that point, at first 3 stages of grief, you kind of get upset a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, man, my parents couldn't actually stay in their own place, in their own country, in their own land, and get what they, I felt like they deserved or whatever. And then you come here, and the struggle is the same struggle. Maybe it's a little bit better, but not to the point where I'm not balling out of control. You know what I mean? So then that's kind of what kind of got me thinking about, how are people actually getting to this level of wealth and control of resources? And I had a
So what happened? What happened though, man?
So what happened was,
with her story, like, what did you learn from her story?
That's all I learned, man. And I'm not trying to be a hater. So I'm trying to keep names and dates and everything else out of it, Because I feel like these.
Okay, so all things being equal. So I love this conversation, because I did not think that this conversation was going to land us here. But this is remarkable, because this is a journey in how you viewed athletics, how you saw money, right? How you progressed as an athlete, and it led you to what you're doing now. So when you started it, so when I listen to this is intriguing, because our brains love to do 2 things. They love to protect us from hurt, harm, and danger, whether it's physically or psychologically or emotionally. And they love to predict. Our brains love to predict what's going to happen next. And I noticed that with your story, another thing I'll say is, our brains love solving problems. It loves solving problems. And it's intriguing listening to you today, because throughout your whole journey, you were a problem solver. You were doing math, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, like, yo, if I got to tackle this dude, if I got to compete against these cats, I got to be this, that, and the other. I have to do this. I have to go to this school. I have to run this fast. Right. So this is remarkable, man. So continue.
Right. It's about processes, man. I think, and patterns, right?
Yeah.
And it can get you in trouble if you don't do the proper calculation and you get off track. But some calculations are easy, and you get better at doing it the more you kind of go along and kind of trust your intuition. If you're a spiritual person, you have the gut feeling that we tap into as well. But in this case, it was kind of one of those deals where it was like, none of this picture is adding up, because she wasn't the exception to the rule. There was a lot of people like her. It was just, that's the one I ran into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so obviously after that moment, it wasn't something that I could sort of, my interest was piqued, but there's no way that I can now start heading down that path. It's just, I'm awakened to the game.
There was no, hey, where do I sign up?
Correct. Exactly. It's just like, that's your reality. Okay. Vic, you want to go party with this? We're going to go party. I'm like, yeah, let's go party. You're mine, But so I think I had a class. I'm not sure if it was economics or what class it was, but we landed on a project that was talking about nonprofits, coincidentally. And basically just that project essentially was just describing how in American system, nonprofits and for-profit sort of blur the lines. So my whole
Sort
thing
of.
was
Sort of.
nonprofit for-profits, right? And so my whole it was a group project, had my whole, essay and paper. I don't even know how much it was worth or for your grade, but it was a lot. It was one of those, 40% of your grade type type of projects, and just looking at the numbers of some of these non-for-profit institutions, and whether it was like hospitals or churches or just what have you.
NFL.
Yeah, exactly. Then you realize, man, that's another hustle. So I was like, you have this whole ecosystem of sort of nonprofits, then you have another ecosystem, stock market, financial system, and then you have the real estate, sort of people are getting money in the real estate system. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, I can't really see myself at that point in my life, doing the sort of pastoral give me all your money so I can buy a plane, lifestyle. I was like, I'm not trying to go on the highway to hell to do that. So that probably is not going to happen. I was like, but I could probably preach. I mean, I could probably do it. It's like, nah, that's not going to happen. So I'm thinking, okay, well, real estate. A lot of people do real estate. You know what I'm saying? They make a lot of money in real estate. But the thing about real estate is expensive. And to really get in there and do something in real estate, there's ways that people that that you can get in with less amounts. But at the time, I'm probably 20 years old, 19, maybe 20. I don't even know, whatever that age range.
You didn't have long money. Money.
I didn't have enough money to go, buy a house and flip.
Yeah.
I could probably buy a door.
A door from Home Depot.
A door from Home Depot, and maybe try to flip that, So, and getting into that space, you don't really want it to be too gimmicky, because you have all these people that say, you do this with no money and no this, no that, yada, yada, yada. That's not the kind of money you're trying to make. Not the kind of money that allows the people that were at SMU to do the things that they were doing.
Yeah. So so at this point, you're thinking about, how am I going to get in? You're researching nonprofits, everything. You're researching real estate. Nonprofit, can't do the nonprofit thing because I don't want to be that guy.
Correct.
Can't do real estate because I don't have big dollars. So what happened?
So what happened was it landed on the stock market, man. And I think this is one of those times when being a part of a good community makes a huge difference. And so building up a community that allows for you to sort of find support, right? And athletics, you showed me, I don't even know the name for some of these drills, man. Like fire hydrants, hip cars, all these different things.
Speed drills, drills. You know what I'm saying? Get the glutes to fire, the hammies to fire, the posterior chain working. You know what I'm saying?
All that stuff. But that's within the network, right? The network that was sort of created. Really, we inherited that from our parents, man, from our elders. But we actually had a network that we could kind of fall into to be able to get at least that knowledge, right? And so for the stock market, we didn't really have that. But at the time when I was in college, I don't know if you know him that well, but David Oviemata.
Yeah.
So tech guy and whatnot, but he was a good friend, still is a good friend. He was doing a lot of day trading stuff. And this was around the time that Apple and Steve Jobs was doing the Apple and the iPhone and this and that. And so I had just gotten my fresh Pell Grant check. So for those that don't know the Pell Grant, money was hot.
Hey, there's a lot of bad things and a lot of good things that happen when you got the Pell Grant. a lot of Jordans, a lot of gold, and a lot of good meals were bought with those Pell Grants.
Pell Grant, man, the Pell Grant. Shout out to Pell Grants, though. That's a lifesaver. They don't even need Pell Grants anymore, man. They got NIL now, so now you can actually, do it in that's a nonprofit. Nonprofit money. But man, I got my Pell Grant and I was like, yeah, you're doing this trade. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna kind of research it a little bit. And like anybody who first gets into that space, you're always like, okay, I could use a small amount of money and potentially make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But usually what happens is you take that small amount of money and then you lose all of it. It's gone. And so for me,
so are you telling us today, once again, we're here with Victor Makinde talking about sports, business, development, mindset.
yeah,
So are you telling me that you got your Pell Grant
I got
and
my Pell Grant.
unlike 99.999% of college students, you took that money and said you took some of it, at least a portion of it, and invested it?
Yeah, I took all of it. It was every cent. So if I recall, it was probably around 2,000, 2 grand, and I was able to do it honestly and had the courage because it was something that I was doing with a friend who was also kind of in that space heavier than I was. But logically, it made sense. And it's like, I mean, stocks, they represent the company. This company's about to bring out something that I thought was revolutionary, which obviously it was. Hindsight really being, I should have probably just left it in there and forgot about it, right? But at the time, it was the way we played it was we bought the call options. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with what call options are.
Explain it to everybody real quick.
Yeah. So basically, the stock is a security. The call option is a derivative, meaning the option doesn't exist without the security. But the option is something that gives you the ability to convert that to the security. So if nobody believes in the company, I'm trying to simplify.
Yes.
Then the option might be, very inexpensive relative to the price of the stock. Now options expire at different times. So now you're talking about legit, this is like gambling.
For sure.
But you have a time frame that the stock probably is going to go up because you have a catalyst, which being the launch of this new product. So we basically bought the call options that were within this time frame of this catalyst, with the idea being when the launch happens and the build up to the launch, the value of this derivative now is going to go up because people want to now take those from me to go and buy the stock, because the derivative gives you the stock at a predetermined fixed price before the move happens.
Yes.
So now somebody will say, I'll just buy that from you and I don't have to risk anything buying the stock. So everybody's happy. The only way you're not happy is if it doesn't move the way you thought it was going to move. The derivative has no value once that time expires. And that's where you can lose all your money, basically.
Yeah.
And so like any person that doesn't really know what they're doing, that's the play that I wanted to do. That was the move, man. That was the move.
And how did it work out for you?
It worked out okay, man. So basically what ended up happening was we did the trade, and this again, this is another one of those moments. You have pivotal moments in your life that sort of like push you to the next phase. And this was the thing that pushed me to the next phase, because I did the trade. Everything was working like it was supposed to. The price was going up. My $2,000 in probably about a week was up. I was hitting close to 20,000 in unrealized gains. And I'm like,
this is just buying the options.
This is just buying the call option. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I'm like, man, this is too easy. This stock market game too easy. But now this is how people get money.
Yeah. You got a taste. You got a little taste of
2 to 20 in a week.
Yeah.
But my mind wasn't right at the time. So I'm already thinking, now I'm thinking, what car am I going to get?
How am I gonna blow off?
I'm about to ball out, I'm literally like, what are you talking about?
I'm trying to get back with little girl in SMU in her circle to find that pot of gold.
Listen, I had, my mind was already made up. So me and my buddy, we were like, okay, when the thing comes out and Jobs comes out and does the keynote, we'll sell at that point, because we're not really trying to be in there for the long run of this thing, because these things expire. And the closer you got to the keynote was the closer the expiration date for the option. But as long as it's called in the money, which we were, because the price had moved up, your thing has value. But if it moves against you during that time frame, then it loses value. So it's best to get your value and then get out, or take your value and convert it to the stock. Well, we don't have enough money to convert it to the stock, right? So anyways,
the stock price was still a little high.
The stock price is going, but it's still high.
Yeah.
Right. So we have value because somebody can buy those from us and have a price before the stock market made that move with that stock.
Yeah.
So our stuff right now has value. But if it moves against us at any time before we sell, our value it's a quick move, because now you're talking about a derivative. So, and another reason why I like derivatives though is because if you look at bank failures, mortgage crises, your big institutions also lose when they play with derivatives. So when somebody's losing, they try to say this, the stock market, these things, to me, like it is, if someone loses, somebody else is winning. That's the way that I view it.
Yeah.
And if you go gambling in Vegas, you're mostly losing because the institution that's there is mostly winning.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the stock market. Really, they're mostly winning and other people are mostly losing. But the times that they lose, and they lose big, are times where you can win.
Yeah.
And that usually happens with derivatives. So like the mortgage-backed lending crisis, that's derivatives.
Yeah.
So they basically create a security and then sell that security to somebody who sells that security. It's so detached from the actual value of land, for example, or a house, then you start losing. So like mortgage-backed securities were an example of derivatives gone bad. So look at the largest bank failures in history and financial companies. Usually it's derivatives.
Interesting.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm trading these derivatives and I don't know what I'm doing really, but the thesis is sound and I'm up a lot. And the day before the option is about to expire, Jobs is up there speaking. I'm asleep in my house, just relaxing. I once it's done, I'm going to sell. I get a call from my buddy, frantic. Purr, 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 purr. And I pick up, hey, what's going on, man? He's like, dude, Apple stock is tanking. I already sold his derivative. I'm like, what? I'm like, the jobs went out. They're releasing. There's no delay. He's like, no, it's good. I don't know what's happening. He's freaking out. So now I'm trying to log on to my stuff, and I didn't have internet connection at the time. I was stealing internet. Shout out to that free internet, man. I think it was like AT&T Wi-Fi or something.
Net zero.
Net zero back in the day. They were testing it. 4G LTE, whatever. But so I'm getting up, man, boxer shorts, everything, just running, looking for signal, because this is like, for me, this is like life or death. So I'm going, and it's like, what my account at that time is like, and it's pretty much in real time, so you can see it just dropping. I think I got out. I couldn't even tell you what I got out, man. I think I maybe made like $5,000 on it, but it wasn't what I thought. But then I was shook again, because I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like the phone came out, great reviews, it worked. He came out, hit the keynote, everything happened the way we thought. But right before the expiration, the thing went the opposite way. For the derivative, just went down as if it wasn't really correlated to anything, and everything was good, and it just didn't make sense. So I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to be day trading for a living because I don't know what I'm doing. Back to reality. And I'm also not going to be getting whatever I thought I was going to be buying. That's not going to happen. And I was like, well, I want to get a job in the financial industry, but my background, my major was psychology, my minor was economics, so it wasn't necessarily tailored for finance.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I just got to get my foot in the door, because I just need to learn. I got to figure out what's going on. And while I'm in the game and doing my own research, just to figure out what just happened, because that doesn't make any sense. And basically over the next, till now, really, and I'm not really in the stock market as heavy anymore, because I can actually buy things that are less volatile, and I have kids and I can't afford to be playing around too much.
Yeah.
I can buy things that physical, tangible type things and buy and sell those, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whatever. But at that time it was like, I had my Pell Grant money and I grew it. And over the years, I went from that moment till I probably went like 10 years, man, without losing money on a trade. Wow. And it was literally just every time I did a trade.
Real quick, because this is powerful. Once again, we're with Victor Makinde, and we're just talking about mindset. We're talking about sports. We're talking about business and how he took his Pell Grant money and grew it. And you just said something right now about how you never lost money on a trade. What in terms of mindset, how were you able to do that? How?
So after I did the Apple trade, and I realized that I I'm a conspiracy theorist sort of person anyways. The nice way to say that is contrarian,
Yeah.
but I'll check and verify, everything, you know. And if something doesn't make sense, then my first inkling is just like, man, somebody's fiddling with the sticks, you know what I'm saying? They're playing games,
Yeah.
because that doesn't make any sense. But I realized that if I'm buying these things that are expiring for no reason, who's selling them? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started researching the other side of that trade. Now, the other side of the trade is going to be a lot less money, but if most of these options are expiring worthless, and I could just sift out the ones that are going to expire worthless and be on that side of the deal, then I can incrementally just build my nest egg. Because now I'm sitting on, about 7,000. And if I make 10% on a transaction, let's say a month or a week, I'll make $700. That's not, 5,000 one pop, but also if 90% of options are expiring worthless, I just got to avoid the 10% that that are, right.
Yeah.
And so my core trading strategies that I used to raise capital years later at Victor was based on that principle. And so the first trade that I did with that, as far as using a larger pool of money that I've grown, okay, to just get a smaller pool of money, but then being patient with that smaller pool and hitting those smaller wins over time, was Sprint Nextel. And so once I found that company and it worked, I broke down Sprint, and I won't get into how I broke it down, because I still actually, when I do trade stocks, this is the way that I do it. But I broke down what made Sprint the company based on like the earnings and based on the options volatility, open options contracts. And I just had, and still have, a system that I can rank these stocks based on how closely they resemble Sprint during that time.
That's really cool.
And so I'm really just trading Sprint every time.
Yeah. That's cool.
Make sense?
Yo, perfect sense.
Yeah.
So this is very intriguing. So, in sports, we hear this term a lot, and I believe that when you keep saying certain things over and over again without any basal knowledge of what the thing actually means, it gets watered down, right? We hear all these terms in sports. One of these terms is process, right? Oh, yeah. We got to stick with the process, but you actually applied a process to not only your career as an athlete, but as a career in business, and made lucrative gains for your company. Talk to us about your definition of process, or what comes to mind when you hear the term process.
I don't know if I have anything that comes to mind when I hear process per se, because you could have good processes and you could have bad processes. And so I feel like you start off with a thesis more than a process. So you have an idea. So that's really where most of the risk is. Mm-hmm. And then I guess that would be part of my process. I start with a thesis, and that's where the most risk is, because I'm not really sure. So right then I'm not really ready to make a move because I'm not sure. I'm not confident.
When you say thesis, just give us an insider's look into your mind. When you say thesis, what does that mean? I start off by stating what, or I start off by figuring out what?
Yeah, stating like, let's say stating a goal, or stating an idea of what I want to have happen. So if I say something like, I want to get a scholarship, and I can get a scholarship, right? Then the next thing is, well, if I want to get a scholarship, what do I have to do to go get a scholarship?
Got it.
And then I'm looking into, okay, well, these 100 people got scholarships. Well, I can be one of those 100 people. What do I have to do to be one of those 100 people? Okay, those 100 people, 95 of them were 6'6". And it's like, oh, well, I'm not 6'6", so that's probably not going to work for me. Oh, but wait, this other group, they were 6'2", but they all ran 4.3s. But 100% of these guys got scholarships at 4.3. So I don't know why they got scholarships, right? But I know that they were 6'2" and they ran 4.3. Well, I'm 6'2" and I run 4.8. So maybe I need to get to 4.3. But how the heck do I get to 4.3?
And that's where your process begins.
And that's where my process begins.
That's awesome. That, you know, when we in strength conditioning, even any type of program, right? Whether you're talking about, you know, a mental performance program, a physical performance program, we always want to start with the end in mind, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, all right, I need my O lineman to be able to do this repeatedly over a course of 4 quarters. I need, you know, my wide receivers, my basketball players. I need my volleyball players to be able to jump this high if they're going to play in the front row, right?
Yeah.
And so you start there, which you're calling a thesis,
right?
And then you work backwards and say, hey, when you start looking at the normative values of the landscape,
right?
90% people do this, 10% do this and still are successful. Where do we fit in, and how do we mimic that? So I think
about it with the stock market, for example. The first trade I did was probably the riskiest trade that I did, and luckily it worked out. But the process changed into, why am I taking that much risk and running around naked looking for signal when I could be on the other side of that coin, where I'm more like the house? So I'm only basically selling contracts for other people like me to take that risk.
Mm-hmm.
And 90% of the time, those contracts are going to work in my favor. I just now have to, you know, find a way to really hone in to where that 10% is negligible.
Yeah.
And if I can figure that out, then that puts me in a lot better situation where over time, you know, I can do the math. If I have $7,000 and I keep getting some options contracts, you can do them weekly.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get $700 a week, if I'm patient and keep following that process, that system, and refine that system, how many wins do I have to get in a row before that 7,000 is 70,000? The 70,000 is,
and at that point, it's just math, right?
It's math, but it's also self-control, which is what you find in a lot of sports too. So you see a lot of people, they say, okay, I'm doing good. And then I realized I wasn't taking my diet and nutrition seriously. Well, why are they making that change? Because they know that if they took it seriously based on other people, that's going to give them a little bit of opportunity to get even faster. So like with my training for some of these kids, like I have some kids that are really elite, but let's say these kids are, you know, like my son, for example, he's pretty flexible. But if I want to squeeze blood out of a stone with him, okay, let's you find the areas where you're not as flexible and make you more flexible, but then also make you stronger in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you going to get faster from that? I don't know. But what I do know is it's going to give you an opportunity to have more balance. It's going to have you an opportunity to increase your stride length, and probably, you know, allow for your stride frequency to also be the same. So you're probably going to get faster. I'm not going to sit there and measure it, but I know that if I fix all the weaknesses and get you to hone in on those weaknesses, then I know that there's more people that look like this and are doing this, are running faster times.
Yeah.
And that's just something that we can work on. So we're always going to try to work on fixing obvious weaknesses so that you don't have obvious weaknesses. And if you can fix those obvious weaknesses, that's the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of like, if I'm coaching, I mean, the track club itself, it's a recreational club. I mean, it's in total, probably, you know, 180 kids total in the whole track team, of which, you know, when the recreational season is over, we probably have 30 kids that sprint. And then right now we have 14 kids that are training for the Junior Olympics. And so when you start working with sort of, you know, the more elite athletes, when you're dealing with 180 kids, you're giving everybody sort of the same medicine, and then you're condensing it down.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to have a cookie cutter system that works for everybody. But then there's going to be people within that system who are maybe they're more coordinated than other kids, right? Or maybe a kid is fast, relatively speaking, but you notice that kid has a lot of imbalances.
Yeah.
So then you say, I don't know how fast this kid could be, but if somebody got rid of those imbalances, this kid could probably be pretty fast. And so we have a lot of kids, and when you're talking, you know, that age, which is 8 to 12, are the ones that qualified. There's a lot of room for improvement just on getting rid of those imbalances that they have.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, okay, this kid's going to be, this fast or that slow or whatever.
Just like a stock though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is a very intriguing conversation because it's the mindset between what you've just laid out and how you identify, financial opportunities, how you scale financial opportunities, and even how you do so as an athlete. They're almost interchangeable, and it's pretty cool, man. In your opinion, right? What is more difficult, being an athlete or being a business person, mindset wise? It's open ended and it's loaded. But what is more difficult?
So for my personality type, the things that I find that are difficult is when you start adding the human component into it, where you can't really control what the other person is doing. You just have to get better relationally with people. And so there's ways that people, whether they're trading stocks, for example, you're not really having to deal with people as much, but you know that there's people behind the trade that you're dealing with indirectly. And you guys literally at war because you're fighting for the one.
Yeah.
The resource we're fighting for is that same commodity. Like it's as close to the money trees you can get. So it's very, very unfriendly. But you don't see your adversary though. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you actually have to know what your adversary is trying to do and be better than them at that game. Because they're still probably going to make money and win. But you want to be able to also make money and win. Because you're dealing with, you're going against the house, basically.
Yeah.
And that's it's like playing baseball going against the Yankees when they had a stacked team and you're the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, you know what I'm
saying? hey, to their credit, man, they've been doing really good lately, man, because they understand the other side of that coin.
Correct. But that's like, but that's one of those stacked teams. And my brother went to Boise State, right? So we know what they did in the Kellen Moore era against some of the bigger schools. And it's kind of similar. You go and find a guy that maybe, play quarterback in high school, and then you move that guy to the running back because he's got intangibles and just stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, creative. So I would say for my personality, the less human interaction, the easier it is for me.
It's because it's more objective.
Yeah, it's emotions. Human beings have emotions, and emotions, and I have honed that as a skill for myself. Because even with the right strategy, if you do a trade and the trade goes against you and you're down, X amount of money, or even sports is so similar, you could get beat as a corner for a touchdown. You're supposed to go to the next play and forget about the whole situation, be able to bounce back. And the stock market's the same way. If emotionally you can't handle that, let's just assume if the markets were manipulated, you could probably make it go down and go up, knowing that people are going to freak out.
Yeah.
They tell you buy low, sell high. What do most people do? They do the opposite, right?
Yeah.
So, I would say training people, to me, especially the ones that I'm not emotionally invested in, is actually probably the easiest thing. Because at the end of the day, I can't really, really control it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not financial, so it's not really going to hurt me in any way. So I'd say that's probably the easiest thing. Probably one of the hardest things is coaching my son.
Because you're more emotionally invested.
Because I'm more emotionally invested in his success.
Yeah.
And I have to balance that because I don't want to be living through him.
Yeah.
But I want to teach him how he can have some skills that he can use for himself and also pass that on. So I'd say that's the hardest thing, man. Like I get nervous for his stuff more than I got nervous for my own stuff.
Seriously, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. We live vicariously through our children sometimes, and there is an emotional connection, and it's crazy. So when I deal with professional athletes, one of the things I tell them is emotion is like fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fire or light or electricity, like fill in the blank, right?
Sure.
And it's one of those things that, when you're dealing with fire is great. Fire can cook food, it can grill up some real good food, you know what I'm saying? You can use it to perform controlled burns in a certain part of the forest or nature. It has its purposes. It can give us light, right? And emotions are the same thing. Like when you introduce them and you take them out, especially during a competition, they fuel legendary performances. But if you leave it on there too long, if you become too emotionally invested in something that you're supposed to, like you said, to shake off for the next play, it'll eat you up. It'll eat you up. And so, man, I had no idea this conversation was going to go this route, but it was just really intriguing just listening to the mindset that you have as it relates to the challenges and the opportunities that you're dealt with. So as we get ready to close, what do you see as obviously I can talk to you as a businessman, I can talk to you as a father, as a coach. What do you see, in your opinion, as the future, right, in terms of business mentality, right, and sports mentality? Because we both have young kids coming up. We knew how we came up, right? We know about this young generation coming up, and we also see business taking a full turn with the millennials, the alphas, the Z's, everybody coming up behind them, and the changes. What are some of your thoughts, man, in these arenas as we get ready to close?
So my thought in the present is from focus on sort of the sharing economy, because times are tough for everybody. So you have to learn how to work together. And so any type of sharing sort of platform is going to be something that's really good. And I think the contrarian play right now in society, is not a popular one, but it's the one that civilization has sort of been built on over time. And that's sort of where you have more of a conservative outlook on how people live their lives. And so for my son, I'm, playing the role of dad coach. I get in him, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a, we're all going to get a ribbon type of coaching. And it's not as aggressive as like a traditional foreigner's parent, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's understanding like everybody else can drink that, what I consider Kool-Aid, but you need to know how to work hard. You need to know how to set goals. You need to know how to take criticism. You need to know how to push through adversity. And you need to give yourself and trust yourself and trust your abilities to where you're not afraid to succeed. You know what I mean? And he's one of those kids, man. I would say if not for his own mindset, he's now created a bunch of people that are like him on the team, where now he has a safe space for himself and other kids that kind of look like him and other kids that want to be athletic and be great in a society that's saying everybody should get a ribbon. These guys are like, assholes. I say, hey, who among you here likes winning? And then a couple of them raise their hand. I'm like, listen, if somebody asks you if you like winning, both hands should be up, feet should be up. So I love to see you guys win. I love it. I want you to win. I said, winning is great. Some coaches will tell you it's not about winning. And I'm like, no, it's not. And it's like, but I want you guys to, have fun. Yeah. And I'm like, I agree with all of that, but you have to be a special magician to be able to lose a lot and have fun. Exactly. I'm not into magic. I don't even like magic like that. An easier way is to win. And the more you win, the more fun you have. Yeah. Because I've been on bad teams.
Yeah. Work hard leads to winning. It's easier to do that than to go mediocre and then come up with a consolation speech every game.
Every time. It leads to winning, but it also leads to having fun. Yeah. And so I have some kids on the track team where over the 4 years, just looking at their stuff, they would be, I sent you some of those links so you can see the progressions.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
You'd have a kid that was running 16-second 100 at 7 years old, 16-second 100 at 8 years old, 16 at 9 years old, and you're thinking they got taller, they got bigger, they got stronger, they didn't get any faster.
They didn't improve, yeah.
They didn't improve. So that kid, and you'll see that kid, and that kid works hard. It's a hardworking kid. no results. That kid isn't going to stick with, whether that's business, track, whether you're looking at it from like African Americans in American society. If you keep working hard and the results don't follow, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Unless you're a special kind of person, the person's going to find something else to do. They're going to quit. One of the stories that stuck well with me, there was a 7 and 8-year-old division girl 4 years ago that was just dominating the local circuit when we first moved out to Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I were talking to her because she was just a killer, and in a good sense of the word.
Yeah.
And her goal was to make it to the Olympics in her future. Well, once everybody else's coordination caught up to her, and the training that they were providing wasn't getting her any improvement, this young lady was in middle school, and then last year she was still in middle school, but it's her last year. She'll be in high school. I don't think she'll even be running anymore. I tried to get her to come back out this year.
Yeah.
She didn't come back out. I'm like, hey, because I know what potential that I saw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at that point, it's almost like it's too late. That dream was killed. And so we have a girl in 2 weeks, 9 first place medals, man, two region championships, USATF, AAU. And she's the one that I'm telling you about that was running 16s. Last year, she was working out with us, me and my son, unofficially. Got her time down to the 15s, then low 14s, like 14.3 range. This year, she sweeps Region 14, has 7 states in the Midwest, 1, 2, and the 4 for AAU and USATF. She's still, and I say she's still a year behind.
Yeah.
Because now she's elite for the Midwest, but she's not elite
for her age.
Nationally.
Yeah.
But she's beating people now that she hadn't even, been able to compete with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's been running track since she was 7 years old. So she's not the only story that I have. I mean, I have some kids that it's their first year running track, you know what I mean, and region champions, but they don't have the same appreciation as a kid who's been running for 4 years, whose time is recorded, and they ran faster at 8 years old than they ran at 11.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
So this is good. This is really good. If you were to give advice, this is what we'll get you out of here on this. Once again, this is Victor Makinde. We're talking business. We're talking sports. We're talking mentality. If there's one trait that you had, or you wish you had, that your son has, that, or you wish that he has, or all of the kids that you've been working with and training to become great, all the business ventures that you've applied yourself that have become great, what is one trait that has, passed the test of time in your eyes? You say, you know what? If this thing was always present when I saw success in myself or in others, what was that one thing for you?
Yeah, it's something that I continue to work on. I would just say it's there's a lot of different ways you can phrase it, but just having resiliency, but also the ability to sort of shake things off when they don't go your way and not let it affect you. I think that's huge, because some of the guys that have made it, whether it's sports or the next level, they don't even take themselves too seriously, almost to a fault. It's like when you're running track, the more you strain and the more you want it, the more you push, guess what happens to your speed levels? You get slower.
Yep.
So you have to say, relax.
Yeah.
In life, relax. And then opportunities just start flowing to you.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're in a flow state, whether it's martial arts. If somebody wants it too bad, they get countered. In track, you strain too much, you slow down. In life, you push too hard, you probably die early, die young, So for me,
pull a hamstring.
all of that, man. So that's the one trait that's the hardest thing to do, especially if you're the kind of person that's driven, you're type A, is after we got done with regionals, 9 days off, man, for the kids. Take time off.
Yep.
Because you need time to relax, time to rest. Life doesn't revolve around this.
Yep. And
then when we come back, we'll give it one last go and see, if we can get to Junior Olympics and see what nobody knows Iowans can run, kind of thing. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
We're going to have fun regardless because nobody believes you can do anything anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the club that I'm volunteering with and working with, man, Tiger Track Club, Cedar Falls, a plug. We have a donor box that you could donate to help these kids make it to the Junior Olympics. Got 14 kids out of 15 that qualified from the regional circuit for the Junior Olympics, which is the most from any club in the state. And just excited to be on this podcast, man, and chop it up. If you're on Instagram, check out my son's page too.
Yeah.
Marshall.
Give us all the info.
Yeah, Marshall Athlete 319. If you want to see kind of, you know, what he looks like. We're still working on his form, man. His coordination this year has been crazy. He looks more like a football player than a track guy, but he's still fast though.
That's good, man. That's good. We can work with that, man.
Yeah. Yep.
That's great, man. So we'll put all the links on the podcast, and you know, I definitely want to follow up too in the near future with another podcast, see how everything's going.
Yeah.
This has been really good. I mean, you know, you start talking about the parallels between a business mindset, a sports mindset, just kind of like how you went ahead and solved problems and how you looked at things. I mean, there's so much psychology in that I didn't even want to unpack today, but it's just, you know, we'll let the listeners, you know, fill in the blanks, but this was really good. Once again, for my guest, Victor Makinde, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again to you and your wife, Rochelle, on the baby girl, who is what, 7 days old?
7 days.
7 days, man. So you ain't getting no sleep.
No sleep. No sleep.
So congratulations again, man. God bless you, my brother, man. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. God bless you too.
All right.